Please join me for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Cook,
Here.
Mr. D'Adriano,
Here.
Mr. Rogan, Ms. Smith,
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here.
I just put late.
All right, so I slipped. If everybody would please stand again. And if we could just have a moment of silence for two individuals that we've recently lost. Lynn Andretta, who was a longtime Patterson resident, and she chaired our VAR for as long as I've been here. And also Ed O'Connor. Ed O'Connor was, he was our last standing elected assessor. He served on the Board of Assessment Review for many years. He also chaired the Zoning Board of Appeals for many years. So if I could just moment of silence to remember them both. Thank you. No love is anymore.
Love all of you, but your clock down is off by about 5 minutes downstairs. Yes, so I apologize for being late,
Well, you know who does that.
but I stayed out in the hallway for the moment of silence. That was beautiful for Ed.
Now we know what to get him for Christmas.
Batteries.
A watch.
Oh, watch.
Yeah,
Good
I
point.
have great watches, but
All right, would somebody like to audit the bills?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve abstract number 21 dated November 10th, 2022 in the amount of $176,057.42. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Budget transfers, I believe we have two of them.
Yes, we do. Budget transfer number 32 is necessary to reallocate funds for the Putnam Lake Park District parks contractual utilities for additional costs in 2022. We'll be moving $200 from parks contractual expense accounts to parks contractual utilities expense account, $200. A motion at the town board approve budget transfer request number 32. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Next, we have budget transfer number 33. This one is necessary to reallocate funds for the plan of personal services medical buyout account for benefits in 2022. And this moves $375 from the Justice's personal services medical buyout expense account to the planner personal services medical buyout expense account, $375. I'll make a motion that the town board approve budget transfer request number 33. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Yes. Good evening. The first item on my agenda is the Auctions International contract renewal. We have a contract for auction services. It is about to expire, and we have attached here a new contract. And I just don't know the date. I'm assuming this is starting January 1. There's no date attached on the contract on the top here.
Well, it would be starting tomorrow if you approve it tonight,
Okay.
because we're already behind and we need to get this renewed so we can get the Jeep on Auctions International.
Oh, okay, very good. All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the online auction contract for selling our vehicles on Auctions International effective today, November 30th, 2022. So moved.
Second.
You want to authorize the supervisor to sign.
Authorize the supervisor to sign the agreement, the attached agreement. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The second item is the alarm system agreement renewals. We have here, these are all effective January 23rd, 2023. Is a contract between the town of Patterson for the attached individual buildings. I will go over them. All are to start January 23rd. For the Patterson Recycle Center, for the security at the Patterson Recycle Center, for the wastewater treatment plant fire monitoring, the wastewater treatment plant security, Patterson Town Hall security, Patterson Town Hall fire, Patterson Recreation Center security, the Putnam Lake Boathouse security, and the Patterson Justice Court security and the Patterson Justice Court fire. So I'll make a motion to approve the contract effective January 23rd for the mentioned security and alarm fire protection with Nikon security systems. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I have two resolutions here for the project on 311. The project includes traffic signal installation and highway reconstruction in the form of turning lanes, shoulder, and resurfacing improvements to the state-owned facility, which is currently part of the state highway system located within the town of Patterson or the adjoining municipality of the town of Kent. So I'd like to take the resolution, enter it into the record as though read for acceptance of an agreement between the Camerata Realty Investments and the town of Patterson for the construction of improvements on the Route 311. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The second resolution is also for the same project, which includes the traffic signal installation, highway reconstruction in the form of turning lane, shoulder, and resurfacing improvements to the state-owned facility, which is currently part of the state highway system located within the town of Patterson or the adjoining municipality of the town of Kent. This resolution is for acceptance of an agreement between the New York State Department of Transportation and the town of Patterson for the construction of improvements on Route 311. I'd like to take this resolution and enter it into the record as though read. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Peter?
All right, first on my agenda, I have a memo here from the Zoning Board of Appeals. It's a request for, first we have an applicant or town resident, Marcel Carrillo, who applied for two variances, two permits for variances for a structure in question with an existing above ground pool with a deck attached. So originally, the building department had notified the applicant that he would need two permits since they consider it might be two different structures. And then the zoning board, the planning and zoning suggested that the ZBA make an interpretation on whether it's two separate structures or one structure. And after a site walk, ZBA determined that it was, they believe it is one structure and granted a resolution of one area variance. So they are requesting to refund the amount of $100 to Mr. Carrillo for the second area variance application he applied for. So I make a motion to refund $100 to Mr. Carrillo. So
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
the second one is regards to an opening as for an alternate on the ZBA. I'd like to push that towards the end of the meeting.
Good.
And finally, we have an email from a resident by Fields Corners who advises us that the town of Southeast is making or has no parking on Pugsley Road. Is this a winter parking or is this in general parking? None at all. Yeah, none at all. So she feels that since there's no parking on Pugsley Road, it might push parking onto Fields Corners. So she's requesting that we make no parking as well on Fields Corners. This is what she's looking for.
Is this for in regards to future development? Because there's no reason to park on those roads. There's nothing there. I mean, I guess I'm just,
So,
maybe I'm missing. something
Yeah,
else.
so Pugsley Road in the town of Southeast turns into Fields Corners Road in the
Right.
town of Patterson. right on the border, they are proposing to put a very big sports
Right.
complex.
Just your yard.
Lives
Their yards, right? And her concern is that when the parking lot right on the line fills up with cars, any overflow parking is just gonna park along the edge of the road.
Okay.
Which is why they're putting the parking signs up in down the southeast.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
So for, what would be our next step to, if we decided to,
This is in your packet, but it's down later in the zoning. It requires an amendment to the town code. So if the board is comfortable with moving this forward. Or any other road at this time. I certainly can make the changes and bring it back to the board.
I think it's a good idea. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'll put it back on your agenda for next meeting. We'll introduce the law.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Next, we have a letter of resignation from Mr. Gerald Doyle. I'm sending you this letter of resignation to inform you that I will be leaving my position in the Putnam Lake District Department because I will be moving on to a different line of work. I will certainly miss all of you and especially working with this department and all of the people that I've worked with and having the pleasure of being part of the group that is involved in my community. I wish everyone luck and good health. I also know that I will still be seeing you every once in a while. My resignation will take place immediately, which was the letter dated November the 11th. I'll make a motion that we accept Mr. Doyle's letter of resignation with regret. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Now, we have a person that was, when he was out of service, we had someone that was working in his place. Is that the person that can continue?
Correct. We actually at one point had put him on full time. Well, not full time, but
For the number of hours that Jerry was.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he's there. He's already in place.
Right.
He's already working.
Next, we have two certiorari settlements. One with regard to community-based service holding company and one base Karma Trivana. I don't know how to pronounce the rest of it. Inc. Maybe Jamie, you could just talk to us about this since it looks like we're taking two pieces of property off the tax rolls.
Yes, so these are two certiorari's that were brought based upon not-for-profit entities. Karma Triana Demacharka Inc. is a Buddhist organization that has property over on Nashkola. I believe it was formerly, was it a Girl Scout camp? I know it was a camp a long time ago, and then it was residential properties. Community-based services is a not-for-profit that works with disabled individuals. Unfortunately, for tax purposes, the standards for being entitled to an exemption are you have to show a rather minimal amount in order to be entitled to those exemptions. And as long as there's a good faith plan to use those properties for a not-for-profit or a religious purpose, then our hands are essentially tied. And at this point, both of these organizations have showed their plans for the property, and doesn't even, the law says that they don't even have to have all their approvals in place yet to have that good enough to show a good faith plan, as long as they show us that they're going to be using the properties, and we can't say that their use is outright not allowed in that area. So at this point in time, we do believe that it's in the town's best interest to settle these matters, as instead of having the tax bills be printed and then be dealing with refunds.
Okay, so there's no refunds on the town's part.
No refunds on the town's part, because this is only in regards to the last assessment roll, so the town taxes have not been paid as of yet.
is there penalties or fines? Or if it's found out, if it's unfound?
Well, they're, at this point, they're entitled to the exemption. If going forward, they don't use the properties for those purposes, then those exemptions will be removed in future years. So if
Mhm.
next year they're not using the property, or if in the future they were to sell the property, of course, they would go right back on the tax roll.
Mhm.
So I just want to make the board aware and our residents as well that between these two properties, we're talking about
Sorry.
just under $4.7 million coming off the tax rolls. That is a big chunk. And unfortunately, that's what we've been doing every year with not-for-profits in the town of Patterson. We've been losing between 4 and 5 million every year.
Making that assessment up on new development.
We are not.
Commercial development. I want to say community-based services, I have a little bit of experience with from down in Fields Lane when they
Mhm.
ran a commissary. They were preparing meals for their clients. Alan Katz, I believe, was the person that coordinated that, and they were outstanding. What a great service to the community. That was fantastic. I haven't seen them in many years, so I'm not as familiar with their current services, but based on that, they're an outstanding organization.
All right, anybody else? Since we have no choice, I'll make a motion that the town board approve the settlement, tax surcharge settlement with Farmer Shrivana Inc. No move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's great. We got an emergency call that just came in. Uh-oh. No. Say aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have the settlement with Community-Based Services Holding Company. And likewise, I'll make a motion that the town board approve this tax certiorari conclusion. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What do we got next? Oh, delegate. Hold on. Thank you. Oh, that's not it. That's what I can do. There we go. All right, next we have a resolution for appointment of a delegate to the Association of Towns 2023 annual meeting. This is a meeting that's held every year, and that towns exchange ideas and whatnot. And when it comes to things to be voted on, each town needs to designate a delegate to represent the town. As in the past, we have the esteemed Mary Delanoy, receiver of taxes, has volunteered to represent the town of Patterson as a delegate to the 2023 annual meeting of the Association of Towns. So I will make a motion that the town board approve Mrs. Delanoy to be our delegate to the 2023 meeting of the Association of Towns. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You all set, Charlie?
I am done.
So, I will do the county agreement for the ARP fund. So, we have a resolution. This is part of the county sharing of their, American Rescue Plan Act monies to the various towns. We have obviously submitted a plan for what we propose to do with this money. And, this resolution essentially is in furtherance of that. It's for the 12% of the total county funds, which for the town of Patterson is $1,181,656. So I will make a motion that we introduce this resolution authorizing the intermunicipal agreement for these funds and ask that it be entered into the record as though read. So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have a request from our chair of our Veterans Park Advisory Board for a project that is long overdue that we've been talking about for years. It's to put a new deck on the caretaker home. And the bids have been put in, and the low bid we are asking for is for Bakuma Building for an amount not to exceed $10,650. So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Lastly, we had the distinct pleasure and honor of meeting a young man tonight who, his dad was on the Veterans Park Advisory Board for, how many years was it? We just did it was 40 years, something
Yeah,
around,
something like
around
that.
40 years, was Charlie Lowry. His son Chris has interviewed and expressed interest, and I think everyone felt would be a fantastic addition to that board. So I will make a motion that we appoint Mr. Christopher C. Lowry, 20 Mountain View Road, to the Veterans Park Advisory Board for the current term. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Eileen, if you could just let the record show that it's for the unexpired term ending December 31st, 2022. So I've been unsuccessful. We're gonna share. I've been unsuccessful in convincing the county that the town cannot insure a contractor that we do not hire and we do not oversee their activities. I did send the county a letter. I asked them to continue doing the electrical inspections or coordinating the electrical inspections until December 31st. I got an email back saying, thank you very much. We'd be happy to do that if you give us the insurance. Otherwise, the official date is November 10th. I got that 2 days ago. So at this point, the town has no option except to move forward with taking over coordination of the electrical inspections. I do have a resolution which I'm going to introduce appointing same two companies that the county has been using. Hopefully, this is going to minimize any confusion between the master electricians in submitting applications. I coordinated all the activities between these two companies. I want to show the town board. I gave everybody 2 sheets so that they could look at the applications that are actually going to be submitted. And what's involved, and I kind of dummied them up, filled them all out. So one of these 2 companies, or so a master electrician is going to need to have electrical inspections. They're going to fill out one of these applications. They are going to hand it in. I'm recommending that we do it with a $100 application fee, right? It's going to the building department, and the area in yellow is what the building department is going to fill in. They're going to check, to make sure that the everything is filled out. They're not going to be asked to ensure that the information is accurate and correct. That's up to the master electrician. So they basically are putting an electric permit number on and a building permit number if a building permit is needed. That's what the health department is going to do. The building department is going to do.
So I'm sorry, can you just walk us through the process now for the building department? So someone comes
So
in,
somebody needs to put a shed on,
yeah,
and they want to put a couple of outlets in the shed. They need an electrical inspection. They are going to go up on our website, download one of these forms. They can choose either company. It doesn't matter which one. They're going to fill out all that information. They're going to either mail it, email it, or drop it off at town hall. They're going to have to make a $100 application payment with that. And then the building department is going to take that. They're going to look to make sure all the boxes have been filled in, that need to be filled in. They're going to assign a permit number, and then they are going to email it to the company that is listed on the form. After that, it's up to the company to coordinate all other activities.
Which is the way it's really done currently. It's
Yeah.
really, so the system's the same essentially. It's just that they're going through us rather than going through the county. Home improvement board.
I was
But,
wondering what
but they have a choice.
They do have a choice.
Oh, okay, so with the county, you didn't.
No,
They
Right.
just assign
they're
it
the
out.
same
They
people
just
that the
did it.
county's gonna use.
Mhm.
Now, there are other contractors out there that we could add to the list if we want going forward.
Well, this is consistency with what's currently being done. So it doesn't change. It doesn't confuse people.
Sure.
I had a number of years ago an electrical inspection by this
Swiss.
one company, and they were fantastic.
Yeah.
They were really good. They were punctual, they were on time, they were polite, they were neat. I had one thing I needed to change. They worked with me. It was very easy. was good.
I was just concerned with what's different with the building.
It sounds very minimal.
Yeah. And the good thing is they're being notified so they know, oh, the guy put up a shed. Oh, PS, is it zoned properly and did you get a permit for it if needed?
So one of the problems we've had is that the building department will get the certificate of inspection from the county. And that's the first time that they realized that somebody needed a building permit. So now the building department actually has to go chase that person and get all the paperwork in place. This actually is probably gonna help us a little bit
Yeah.
Mhm.
because they're gonna get notified right up front.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
And the company will reach out to the customer to arrange the inspection.
Yeah.
You know, to get a, I didn't really look at the paper, but does it have like an estimated when the work would be completed? Like, are you informing them, or they just reach out right away and?
So the master electricians generally know when the inspections are needed. They will call for the inspection and schedule it with the contractor.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so it actually looks like the customer, so whatever electrician I hire will actually be filling this out,
Right.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
it's not the homeowner.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So are we all okay?
Mhm.
All right. So with that, I would like to introduce this resolution approving electrical inspection companies. We are approving where are we? Statewide Inspection Services, formerly known as Swiss, and New York Electrical Inspection Services to perform electrical inspections within the town according to the rates that they have been provided. Ask that it be entered into the record as though read.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, next on my agenda are some proposed code changes. Mr. D'Andriano addressed one of them already. I'd like to just take a moment to walk the board through it. So if you have any questions, hopefully we can get right out in front of them. The first one would be a change in section 154.15 having to do with fences, stone walls, and masonry walls. This is an issue that came up recently where an individual bought a piece of property in a residential zoning district, and he wants to have a hobby farm, and he wants to do so without having a structure. Actually, all permitted uses within our zoning code. But he went to put up a fence along the frontage to pen the animals in, and realized in discussions with the building department that the height of the fence was limited to 4 feet. Typically, fences penning animals are a little bit higher, 4 feet, some of them can readily get over. So this change would add a section in there exempting hobby farms, small farms and large farms from having to have a 4-foot fence in the front yard, providing that the front fence is an open style fencing typically seen on, most farms. Any questions?
No.
All right. You'll see a little bit farther down, there's a section that's being deleted out because it's redundant with subsection E as well. All right, the next change has to do with 154.81. It is a recommendation that's come over from the planning board that we amend the code to give a little bit more flexibility to allowing metal sided buildings in very specific areas. Essentially, it allows a metal sided building as long as they're 150 feet away from the public right of way. So. Anybody have any questions on that one?
The planning board has the right and the ability to provide and do screening so that even if it's 150 feet away and it's still visible, they can screen with shrubs and other, That, if I recall, that was part of the reason for not having metal sided buildings was that people thought they
The appearance.
weren't as nice as other party plants or other style buildings. So
Well, it was also, especially when, 20 years ago, the metal sided buildings were a little bit cheaper, a little bit, and they were getting banged up and dinged up, and they were, very quickly looking in awful condition.
and this also specifies that a higher strength metal 24 gauge. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
All right, the third change has to do with the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Writing a new condition, it's implied within our code already that they need to get a sign off from, having an erosion control permit for those properties that are required to have one. We're just actually laying it out, so it's clear in the code that you need one, need a sign off on an erosion control permit, but it also opens the door for something else that's been going on. To get a notice of termination from having a stormwater permit, you have to have a vegetated cover over the whole property with an 80% density. And a lot of times, especially this time of the year, it's difficult for people to get there. So we're opening the door here that would allow the planning department in certain circumstances to calculate out a bond, a cash bond that could be posted so that somebody could get a temporary certificate of occupancy without having the law in it. If there are structural improvements associated with all this, we could get the calculation from the town engineer as far as the cost. And if the board is okay with moving this forward, I will be coming back to the board with a unit cost for having to put a lawn in.
Oh, it's on board. Seems very reasonable.
Good?
Mhm.
Yep. All right. It's before the planning board. I'm hoping to get a recommendation. When I get that recommendation, assuming it's a favorable one, I will put this in local law form, where the attorneys are okay with it, and then we will move on that. All right. And my executive session is on personnel, and I will defer that to the end of the meeting. Other business.
We have a request from our town clerk that says that we need to add the following member to the Patterson Fire Department, Dawn Christiana. So I'll make a motion, we add that person. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
We know where this person lives?
I was gonna put it on the next agenda and get that information and do a reso. I think we're done. We're good.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, Eileen, I think if they come into you and they don't have the person's address,
Yeah,
kick it back to them,
okay.
all right? I mean,
Yeah, I wasn't here when it was dropped off, but
because part of their bylaws, contract, whatever, ratio of
yeah.
people who live in Patterson, who live outside of Patterson. So,
God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
All right. Two announcements. I'd like to announce we're having breakfast with Santa. Doors open at 9 a.m. December 10th at the Patterson Recreation Center. And the second one is, I, hope everybody remembers this Saturday night is the Putnam Lake Fire Department Christmas Parade. Hope to see most, if not all of you there.
I believe going back in for past breakfasts, Mr. O'Connor was deputized by Santa Claus to play Santa Claus. So,
He was,
yeah,
absolutely was.
and Mrs. Claus as well.
Yeah. Any other business? All right, with that, we'll open it up for public recognition. If any member of the public wishes to address the board, if you could approach the mic, give your name and address and make your comments.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jürgen Temple from 252 Ice Pond Road. I have been here before a few months ago, and actually I found it interesting that a little aspect of my concern back then was on the agenda today. It's the development at Huxley Road and Fields Corner Road for the Pro Swing Sports Complex, which is close to the Patterson side of the territory. But with equal concern, I also addressed the development of the Lincoln Logistics Amazon warehouses along Puxley Road as well. And we, in the meantime, see already how this area is being altered and not really a nice view as we drive by there on Route 312. Anyway, over the past couple of months and weeks, I have been able to also have conversations with neighbors in my residential area, both on the Patterson and also the southeast side. And we all are very concerned about these developments, about the quality of life impacts these developments may have in our day-to-day experience living here. And we have actually segregated our concerns, sorted them out into 3 major themes. One is the major traffic hazards and traffic congestion problem we experience. And this is also with regards to hazards, the traffic combination of trucks on one hand in this area, heavy volume of trucks, and young people possibly driving themselves to sports events or younger kids being bused to sports events, especially in inclement weather, can cause major accidents and hazards. I didn't mention the last time I myself was once involved in an accident with a truck that parked basically on the entrance of Ice Pond Road, just by the corner of 312, having made a wrong turn and mistook Ice Pond Road kind of as a rest area, and myself having to drive to the Southeast Metro North Station, try to bypass it. And in this moment, when we were parallel to the truck actually started moving and to make a turn right into 312 and dragging us along in the car. We got away with almost no scratches, and it was a slow motion experience, but this was the result of misdriving and a wrong turn by a truck. So this is my personal experience. So even though it was 15 years ago, we are still very wary of trucks. Then that whole 312 area and possibly also Fair Street area can experience heavy congestion and noise. People will not easily get to shopping and Southeast Metro North Station. And the sports complex itself will also have major traffic and cause major noise. So this is the other thing which leads us to the environmental hazards. It's nice woodlands and wetlands that are being destroyed. And we will get noise pollution and light pollution from the sports complex as well. And I don't know how this will be mitigated. On top of it, where there is a lot of truck traffic, there is also a potential for crime to be imported into the area, which could even go as extreme as phenomenons of human trafficking and prostitution being brought to our area. So this is the third concern, the crime that comes along with it. So with all these concerns, we have formulated a petition to the Town of Southeast Planning Board, which we will present at the planning board meeting on December 12th. That's a Monday. And to stop, first of all, revoke the permission for the Lincoln Logistics Amazon warehouse project. And also don't authorize the Post Wings sports complex. We have annotated, since there is an appetite for development, that small sustainable development could be done in these areas, like a small residential settlement with condominiums, since this area is close to shopping and also Caremount medical offices, and also maybe for ecotourism, a small hotel with surrounding nature trails through the woods and wetlands there. So these are alternative suggestions that could be considered for development. Now, what I would like to ask you and anybody here in the room, I would like to ask you, would you feel comfortable signing this petition? So far, we have 36 signatures. And I think it would be a powerful statement if the Town of Patterson Town Board signs on to this petition.
I'll tell you, I won't sign it, and I'll tell you why. I appreciate what you're doing. I think what you're doing is perfect. But I think in the position we're in, it's not respectful to the Southeast Planning Board to take that position. I believe that people, when they have properties that are zoned for a use, that they have an expectation to use it for that. I hope that someday you have a piece of property that you'd like to do something with, and then you have people come out against you. I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent about the project, but I think that people have a right to go through the process. You have a right to object to that, but you also have to expect that your decisions or your ideas for what someone wants to use a property for may not be feasible, even though they sound great to you. Doesn't mean that in ecotourism, we have a hotel project that people didn't like. And you're proposing that maybe they do a hotel, but the people that live near the people that live near the hotel site didn't like the idea. No one ever likes what someone wants to do. We all want people to keep land open forever. But the reality is that that's not, you just heard what the supervisor said. We lost $4.5 million, almost $4.7 million of assessment in the small town of Patterson. That means you and me and everybody on this board they have to increase the tax base for us. We all have to pay a little bit more. I'm willing to pay a little bit more, but the reality is that we need some development in this community where it's appropriately zoned. Now that's where we go to our master plan that says, develop in these areas, develop close to the highway. To be honest, we have a big subdivision planned that's approved right near your house, Ice Pond subdivision, that hasn't been built yet. That was zoned for it. It was gone through the process and it was appropriately done. A small, what is it, 40 lot, 35 lot?
No,
Are you talking about Ice Pond
Correct.
estates?
So there will be people in the future who will have a house like you have on Ice Pond. And I know people who maybe wouldn't want your house to have been built because the road was much nicer with less houses. But the reality is you now have your house. So I think it's disingenuous for you to put the pressure that you're putting on this board right now. And I don't mind sticking my nose out because I think what you're doing is disingenuous to this board, given the situation, the position we have. And I think that would be undermining the Southeast Planning Board. So respectfully, I am not going to sign that. And it doesn't mean I'm for or against the project. I just think that it's not appropriate for me because when I sit here as a town board member, I have to put aside my personal beliefs of what I may or may not want because I'm here for the betterment of the entire town. And, you know, the other part is we're not even a jurisdictional review on this project. We are a concerned neighbor, but I just think what you're asking of this board is not appropriate. So I will not.
It is something I only ask if you are comfortable with it. You don't see a conflict in interest.
I don't, and I think it's a conflict and I don't think it's appropriate. So for me, thank you, no.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that I like the
understand.
project or don't like it. And it doesn't mean I don't respect what you're doing, but I think the way that you're doing it is disrespectful right now, to be honest with you. I don't appreciate the way you're doing it.
It's just a question.
I think it's a shitty question.
all right, all right. So, sir, let me chime in here. I also will not sign the petition. for somewhat different reasons. I agree with a lot of your concerns. I think the intensity of development in the town of Southeast be a little bit high. That being said, I haven't sat on their reviewing committees when they built their master plan to decide this is what is appropriate for them. I can tell you, I think there are impacts with the town of Patterson, especially with the traffic. And we're seeing some of that now. And at this point, I have the best I can do for Patterson is I have a tentative agreement with the town of Southeast to close Fields Corners Road. That will stop all the traffic coming down Fields Corners Road onto Fair Street, onto 311. So at that point, there is no real impact to the town of Patterson.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
So, and so I do share your concerns about the intensity of development out there, but I have to maintain a somewhat unbiased position in my negotiations so that we can get that road closed. Because if we don't get that road closed, I promise you, everybody is going to
It
be
will be
using that
worse
as,
for the Patterson side.
yeah, they're going to
If it
use
goes
that for a
forward.
shortcut because the amount of traffic that's going to be down on 312 is going to be phenomenal coming out of these projects.
Mhm. I understand.
I agree with Mr. Williams and Mr. Rogan. I think that the supervisor on behalf of the town board has gone on record with the town of Southeast expressing concerns over the past minimum year, maybe year and a half. And I think we should leave it at that.
Okay. Understood.
I agree. On that side as well, I agree with Mr. Rogan as well. I put my trust in, just as our planning board, we put our trust in our planning board. We put our trust in their planning board. I think it is a conflict of interest. I think it's disrespectful for us to at this time to go against them. And I personally haven't seen all the plans. I've seen a lot of the plans that affect us with our traffic and our traffic studies that I think we've done our due diligence with and really made a lot of changes with that, with the sheriff's department and Southeast. But just as both gentlemen explained, I agree with them.
Okay.
So I actually do have a question for you. Have you attended any of their planning board meetings or their town board meetings in regards to the building? Because this has been a project that has been, out there and, strongly advertised and, has been common knowledge
I
for a
must,
very long time.
I
I'd say
must
over a
admit,
year.
I must admit, I found out about it relatively late in the game. And once I found out, that's when I got involved. In late August, I tried to go to a planning board meeting. And they dismissed me saying it's not on our calendar, so I cannot speak to it, and said it would be on the calendar again in November, which now got pushed out to December 12th. So no, but neighbors of mine have been on a planning board meeting where it actually got addressed. Pro swing, at least pro swing sports complex.
Yeah, to just kind of piggyback off of what Mr. Rogan said. These people do have properties and they have a right to use them for what they're zoned for. I'm not saying that your fears are not real, but I think that maybe they're a little intensified. You do have Caremount across the street, you have the Home Depot parking, the lot there, you have a lot of shopping going on there. I think the intent of the sports complex is, geared more toward children, and I agree, they're out driving around and, they'll be driving down that road in bad weather, whether or not there's a complex there or not, because they're going to be heading, into the town of Carmel or, like I said, I'm not saying that your worries aren't real. I think that they're just a little, maybe over inflamed and maybe just not knowing what to expect from the whole project, but I do see that it is geared, for the betterment of the children, and, they really don't have anywhere to go, and the rec centers, and they had, one down in the town of Brewster, or excuse me, not the town, but in Brewster, down by Fields Lane, I think it is, or Fields Corner down, had the ice arena, and all good has come out of those recreational centers.
Yeah, my understanding though is that this complex, the caliber of this complex is much bigger, and it's not only for local youth and children, it's actually for regional leagues, and there are coaches trying to take possession of this who are not even from our area. That's my understanding. I might be mistaken, but it is more than just local youth sports.
I think you're right about that, because
Yeah.
my sister does a lot of traveling with her daughter for tournaments for softball, and they go to Pennsylvania, they go to Maryland, they go everywhere, upstate New York. When she heard about this facility, she said, oh my gosh, this is exactly better than what we go to. It'll be close to home. The hotel will get business, because people come in for these tournaments that they do, and they're they're professionally done. So I agree, it's not intended to be for Carmel softball. It's intended to be for big events. So it's going to bring tourism dollars to Putnam County. It's going to bring people that will spend money in the hotel in Patterson if and when it's built. There's money that will be brought into the community, and then they'll go home. So there's impacts that are associated with that, but sometimes those good things, having that great facility, I actually, you're the only person I've spoken to who has negative things to say about that. I've had dozens of people say to me, they think that sports complex is going to be fantastic for the region, for the region, not just for Southeast, but for Patterson, for Carmel, for the area. And it's right off the highway. So it's not like they're driving to go to Camarda Park in, Carmel or another area. They're going to get off the highway. They're going to make the turn. They're going to get onto there. And it's limited amount of,
And maybe-
especially with what the supervisor said about shutting down the roadway.
And your
It's one
concern
way
is,
in, one way out.
Ice Pond, there's no connection.
They only need and maybe it's more the trucks than the sports. The trucks only need to take a wrong turn coming off I-84, and then.
But you have that now.
Yeah, but
it's-
fewer, when a truck leaves, comes in every 20 seconds, that is gonna be a different picture than.
You ever see an 18-wheeler pass your house on Ice Pond? Because I
not
live there
my
too. And
house,
I don't.
but at the entrance of. Ice
Correct.
Pond.
And they figure it out and they turn around. There's a pretty big area down there
And
where
I
they're
have
doing
seen
the railroad track.
Wheelers trying to go to Home Depot and miss the exit and go down to the southeast Metro North Station and cannot turn around,
Mhm.
clogging up the commuters.
Yeah. But they're all very good concerns that you have, but they're also sometimes the cost of doing things, improving the community, and there are things that need to be mitigated. So rather than saying, we want this project to go away, you say, we want to make sure that my concerns are mitigated, which is really a more powerful statement than, I don't like it and I want them to do something more that I approve of, like a small ecotourism with hiking trails. That's not really, it's not even reasonable. from my
I'm
side.
afraid of the project, but
I don't
I,
like it.
just to emphasize, I didn't mean any disrespect to the
Thank you.
town board or anybody. This was just a question. Maybe I didn't phrase it enough as a question, more as a statement put into the room. Would you be comfortable to sign this?
I think the answer has been no, and I
Yeah.
think that that's a baiting question, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your change in what you're feeling, but I don't think that you're being fully honest with what the intent is. It's to get a position statement. The position statement is that it's not appropriate for us to take a position, that there's a process that has to lay out, and for us to go against that would be disrespectful of the process, which we're here to support.
Yeah,
So that's
I
all
don't
I'm saying.
know
It's nothing
the
personal
process,
to you.
but, thanks for bringing me a little up to date on the process. No, I perfectly understand that.
I would see maybe the avenue of asking for a no left-hand turn into Ice Pond off of 312.
Maybe for
You know.
commercial.
Yeah,
Or no commercial traffic.
Right, no commercial traffic. 'cause
something
it's
like
tough
that. You
road.
might want to be an avenue
Yeah.
you might want to take.
Yeah, that could at least be a minimal
Mhm.
step to prevent unauthorized trucks making wrong turns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very
Thank you.
Okay,
you.
Mary? All
All
right, we'll turn to our audience joining us by Zoom. If anybody joining us by Zoom wishes to make any comments tonight, if you could unmute, state your name and address for the record. State your comment. Okay, hearing none, I'll make a motion to go into executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Want to move this into the planning?